This week's Torah reading, Shlach, tells us a story of the scouts that Moses sent to the land of Canaan before the Jews were to enter. He chose 12 special leaders of the tribes to go out to the land to see what kind of people they are, what kind of nation it is, it will be easy to conquer or difficult, and how to settle it and so on. They were special leaders of the tribes, Kulam Anashim Rashei Bnei Yisrael Hema. And then they came back with a terrible, terrible report. 40 days later, they came back and said, it's impossible to conquer the land. The land is going to consume us. Look at the fruit. They brought back one bushel of grapes, took 8 people to carry. A gigantic pomegranate, a gigantic fig, and so on. 10 of them came back with bad reports, and 2 of them said, this is an amazing land. If God could bring us out of Egypt, He definitely could take us into the land. And the Jews cried and said, we don't want to go into the land. And that's when it was decreed upon them that they will perish in the desert. They'll stay there for 40 years until the next generation is born, and the next generation will actually go into the land. Everybody struggles with this story to figure out how is it possible that such great leaders who show such miracles, experienced the Exodus from Egypt, experienced the revelation at Sinai. They were not simple people. They had miracles. They saw miracles. They had faith. They were leaders. How could they have made such a great, terrible mistake and think that God Himself can't bring them into the land as promised? The Kabbalists and the Hasidic masters explain that these are actually lofty souls, and that's probably what made them make this terrible mistake. These people, these scouts, felt that they just got a new Torah. They were just receiving the Torah of Mount Sinai, and they lived a very spiritual, holy life in the desert. They had manna from heaven every day, water from Miriam's well. They had the clouds that protected them. They had no material needs. They were completely spiritual. They were bonding as a nation. They were learning more about God. They had a full spiritual time. And if they went into the land, they wouldn't have that time. It would be very difficult. They would have to work the land. They would have to get involved in materialism, and they wouldn't have time for their spirituality. And they said, it's not going to work. We cannot fulfill all the precepts that God gave us and be true to our Torah if we have all these needs of dealing with everyday life. Sounds like they were right. What was so wrong? Why was God so angry with us, and why did the Jews not want to go into the land? If that's the case, then it's actually a noble idea. And the answer is that they missed a major concept. And the concept is that God gave us a Torah in order to bring it to everyday life. The goal of Torah is not to observe it only when we're away from the everyday life, away from business, in a synagogue, locked away, or we're in a desert, in a cocoon of clouds and manna from heaven. The goal is to bring that holiness and godliness into everyday life, to change the world, to bring holiness into the business, to bring holiness into our plowing and using the earth. And there we could find and bond with God in a deeper way, because it's a little more challenging, but that's the goal. And that's what Joshua and Caleb came back. Tovah haaretz ma'od ma'od. The land is amazing land, because there we're going to find godliness even more in the desert, because we're going to bring holiness and godliness into the material world. Very important message for us. Our daughter is getting married. Sarah is getting married on Sunday in New York, building a home together, a life together. Sometimes we feel that living life alone without having the burdens of family is perhaps more productive, more fun. We don't have the restrictions of life. But of course, true life is when we can find a soulmate, build a home together, bring holiness and godliness into the world, build a family together, pass on the message, and live a true life. May we all experience godliness into everyday life. May we all have many smachot, joy, and a Shabbat Shalom.